Jim Winters. Let's see, who did I play with? Conviction, Earth Crisis, Turmoil, Starkweather, The Promise. I got into hardcore basically out of the metal. So, a lot of tape trading back in the day. Basically to go for, at the time I was sort of like looking for faster shit, heavier stuff. Just the more aggressive stuff than we're finding in metal. And somebody was just like, oh, you think Slayer's fast? They're like, you gotta check out DRI. So they sent me a tape of DRI, and I was like, okay, wow, this is insane. So I gradually, through that, started to become familiar with more hardcore bands. And it was definitely different. It took a while but I was like, totally into it. Then I kind of gradually got into the message a little bit more. Philly's always been pretty diverse. I mean, sound-wise, you had some of the heavier stuff. You had bands like say Ink and Dagger, who were definitely more like DC, Swizz influenced. Obviously Starkweather, who were highly influential and like definitely more on the metallic side of things. And then there's a lot of bands that I'm not as familiar with. I moved to Philly in like '94, so I was sort of just getting into some of the stuff that was around at that time on a sort of a surface level. I mean, some of the bands I only came to know like a little bit after the fact, like Bleed and stuff like that. So, and around that time it was the San Diego sound was starting to creep in, and a lot of that stuff was like the screamo era. It was really kind of blowing up. Well, when I got here, it was really like Stalag was sort of just starting to come into its own, as far as, I mean, it may have been around a little bit before, but I don't know when it actually started to totally go into full swing. I mean, but I used to go there a lot, and when a mic went out or something weird happened, I ended up like trying to fix it, and gradually I was there so often that they sort of came to me to do the sound, and I'm like, there's not really much to do there other than monitor the board a little bit. So, Stalag was the main, like when I first really started to go to shows in Philly, Stalag was the main. Yeah, I mean, This Is Hardcore is it's pretty nuts how it's just escalated over the years. I mean, to the level it has. I mean, now it's kind of weird because it's like so many like fly-by-night fests that seem to happen now. It's like they're there for 1 minute they're there. It's like people just kind of throw them together and you don't hear shit about them. They don't really have any longevity, and it's wild that This Is Hardcore's definitely been able to stick around for as long as it has. Prior to that, I think they played the Hellfest the year before I joined. They just go over people's head. I mean, they have like this diehard fan base, but just like a lot of bands, it seems like they're very regional. Mm-hmm. All else failed, same thing. It's like you take them out of Philly, nobody. Yeah. Starkweather's got a strange, rabid fan base in Salt Lake City, of all places, and they, there's a few other spots I'm sure they could go that would have some insane reactions, but they really seem like a regional band. It's like maybe now they would get a better reaction, but the times that I played with them, it was at CB's, I think both times. I was more concerned about what I was playing than than the reaction. But I think it was, you know, a lot of people, for like stuff like that, it's not about like mosh parts. It's not like shit where it's like. Now when we walked in, it was me, John Pushnick, and Ashley, Jules, who became Jules Jordan, if anybody's familiar. We walked in and the lights were on in the club. They took Pushnick's money, which was kind of strange. We were like, walked in, all the lights were on, and because I was like, you know, something's up in here. But he still decided to buy the ticket. That's what I was about to say. And we go in, and all the lights are on, figuring it might have been, you know, between bands. And we're just like, whoa. You could just all of a sudden see, like, something's up in here. And there were, like, a whole, like, crew of, like, you know, no shirt fucking skinhead dudes with, you know, Nazi Hitler on their neck and shit like that. So it was like really obvious that something was up. And they're just like eyeing up everybody, and you could just see everybody was just dispersing into different crews. And we're like, fuck this. We just like, we walked through and we're like, wait, the show's not happening. Fuck this. And we turned around and walked out, and glass was being broken. I don't really remember much about. Because I think that whole outside was like a glass, it was like a glass front, right? And it was just like, they were just eyeing up everybody. And it was like, if you didn't have a shaved head, they were eyeing you up, obviously. So we're just like, fuck this. We just started walking through the parking lot, and they were just following everybody. We're like, fuck. And it was like, I know they grabbed, one of them walked up to Ashley, grabbed his hat. They're like, I like that hat. And I just remember him going, fuck that. And he put his hands over his head, and we just like took off towards the car and sat there and waited. We couldn't find this other dude that was with us. And then he showed up to the car, and his face was all fucking, like he had a bloody lip and shit. And apparently he started getting kicked by some of these dudes, and that was it. We got in the car and took off. We're like, fuck, and he was all like gung-ho about, fuck that, let's go back. We're like, you're fucking nuts. So, I don't know. If I had more time to prepare for the story, I'd
it's
probably have a better version of it,